Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today I have a new guest that is gracing our channel, Sanjay Dixit IAS. Sanjay, welcome to PGurus channel.
Hello Sri, nice to be here.
Thank you, Sanjay. And Sanjay, I was really impressed with your article in Medium on the CAB/CAA now. And what I'd like you to share with our viewers is your perspective on the bill itself. After all, this was something that was being drafted by Congress from 2004 onwards, and it's only that in 2019, second time around, that the Modi government was able to pass it into law. So why this outrage? Because as far as I can read, the cutoff date was 31st December 2014. There are 31K odd people who have been given citizenship, 25,000 Hindus, 5,000 Sikhs, 2 Parsis, 2 Buddhists, and the rest are Christians. This is what is the bill provision. What is it that these people don't like about it?
I don't know why there should be any problem at all. Because as far as I can see is that though the date has been fixed as 2014, the cutoff year,
right,
it should actually be 1951. Because that was the time that Pakistan stopped taking Indian Muslims.
Yeah.
I don't know whether people realize this, that when all the non-Muslims were being driven out from Pakistan. Now, this is also important to understand that the partition had happened on the basis of Muslim and non-Muslim.
Correct.
Because the basic philosophy that was put forward by Muhammad Ali Jinnah and the Muslim League was that Muslim Ummat, or Ummah as they call it in Arabic, is one single nation and it cannot coexist with anyone else. And therefore, Muslims needed their own Lebensraum, you may call it, or their own territory within the Indian subcontinent. And that happened to be Pakistan. Though initially they had said that there would be no population exchange, even though Dr. Ambedkar had strongly advocated that if Pakistan is going to happen, and he thought that Pakistan would probably become inevitable. But in that case, he had said that there should be a complete population exchange. However, what happened was that I think some romanticism and some skullduggery on part of Muslim League, and the population exchange idea was actually kept in the limbo. Then when the partition happened, all hell broke loose, because the Pakistanis in West Punjab, they started grabbing property and land and started massacring Hindus and Sikhs in their time-honored ways. And that was when the retaliation started, mainly from the side of Sikhs in Punjab. And you know then all that tragedy that took place, and so many millions, I think tens of millions. The estimates vary between 10 million to 15 million people who were displaced. Now, what happened afterwards, that in East Pakistan, where this had not affected so much, the atrocities started a little later. And that was the time that some confabulations took place. There was a lot of pressure on the leadership at that time that they should do a population exchange. But somehow, as it transpired, the Delhi Pact, which is also called the Jinnah Pact, that happened. And a promise was given by both the countries to each other that they would take care of the minorities of their countries. This pact was honored by India. It was not honored by Pakistan. What it did was that making use of that particular provision, Pakistan stopped taking Indian Muslims from 1951 onwards. That is the genesis of this problem. because Pakistan did not keep its word. India kept its word. And as the problem went on increasing, you had the Bangladesh problem in 1971. Even then it did not stop. Even after Bangladesh came, then a pact was reached between Mrs. Gandhi and Mujibur Rahman, where the cutoff date was advanced from 1951 to 1971. That created another problem. So it's the whole root of this citizenship bill goes back to 1951.
So I think the cutoff date that was agreed to between Indira Gandhi and Mujibur Rahman was March 24th, 1971.
25, actually.
Right, and that was the date that I think the Assam population is essentially looking at and saying that this was the cutoff date. I mean, Assam has been complaining about this for a long time. Now, so moving forward, how does this bill affect anyone?
So March 25 was the date because March 25 was the date on which the Pakistan army started its Operation Searchlight.
Okay.
Famous operation in which they started killing off most of the Bengali Hindus and Bengali intellectuals of all religions. And that's why that cutoff date was kept. Because Mrs. Gandhi felt that anybody who had come after 25th March 1971 needed to be sent back. People who had come before that, they agreed. Okay, so the whole problem is that the genesis of this citizenship problem goes back to the fundamentals on which this partition was carried out. That was Muslim and non-Muslim. So what happened was that the Muslims got 2 countries. So as some people say that those 2 countries are the fixed accounts of the Muslims, and they still treat India as a joint account. That is a situation that is not acceptable, because the subcontinent was divided on the basis of Muslim and non-Muslim. Muslims already got 2 countries. So to say that the Muslims from those countries may also be allowed to come into India is quite preposterous. They already have their own countries. And the Nehru Liaquat Act itself is the evidence. In fact, it is the clinching evidence that the persecution was going on even at that time. And that pact happened at the instance of India. Pakistan was hardly interested. They were pushing back all their minorities into India. And it was at the instance of India that this pact took place, and a lot of people were opposed to it, even at that time. Even Sardar Patel was opposed to it, but he went along with it. And the reason for that opposition was that everybody felt that, as usual, Pakistan would not keep to its words. In fact, it's very common. You would see that there is the historical context that every Islamic country keeps when it gets into a treaty with an adversary or with a rival. It's that every treaty is a victory, because they never have an intention of sticking with that treaty.
Yeah.
And that comes from the famous Treaty of Hudaybiyah that the Prophet entered with the Meccans. And it is said that even Yasser Arafat, when he had a treaty with the Israelis, and there was a lot of opposition, he went into a conference or went into a public meeting, and everybody was shouting at him. He just uttered one word, Hudaybiyah, and everybody fell silent, because every Muslim understands the meaning of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. So when you enter into a treaty with Pakistan, whether it's Shambhala Agreement, whether it is Nehru-Liaquat Agreement, whether it is Indus Waters Treaty. It's always a victory for them because they have no intention of keeping their part. They will take what you give them, but they will not give anything from their part. They will only consolidate themselves, strengthen themselves, and whenever the crunch comes, they will take their advantage, they'll break the treaty, and then they do whatever they please. This is what they did with the Nehru-Liaquat Agreement. It's actually, that treaty exists as a dead letter today. And I would even go as far as to say that the India would do well to actually announce a termination of the treaty.
Well, that's a good suggestion, but I have a more pointed question for you, Sanjay. Look, there are about 7 million Pakistani Hindus stuck in Pakistan still, 70 lakhs, and they consist of Bhirs, Kolhis, and I think one other community. I don't remember exactly.
About 90% of them are Dalits.
Yes, 90% of them are Dalits. So now the Indian government can only absorb around 1,000 a month. This is what the number that was given to me by a friend of mine. And essentially, that is a long way to go before all these people can come and find refuge in India. There are two challenges with that. First of all, when you settle them in India, you need to find them a means of livelihood. And the second is, where will you settle them? And would this CAA apply to them? In other words, can they instantly apply based on this?
No, there's already a cutoff date. And there is also what is called the waiting period. So what has happened is, this Citizenship Act and the enabling provisions have existed. What has been done in this act is only a facilitation has been done for people who have been waiting for a long time, because it is 11 years right now. It's been reduced to 6 years. Just that. So that facilitates a lot of people. It's not that the people are not being given citizenship. A lot of people have been given citizenship. I think at the last count, thousands of people have been given citizenship, and they've been given all the time. I was collector of Barmer. At that time, we were having these people who had migrated to India after the 1971 war. I don't know whether people remember this, but on the border of India and Pakistan in the Barmer sector, a tehsil and a large area of about 4,000 square kilometers was occupied by India. And till the Shambhala Agreement, India was running an administration there. One of my senior colleagues in the IAS was actually the administrator in that area, sort of a district magistrate. When India withdrew, that area had a lot of Hindus. All those people, they came back with the army, with the Indian army, to India, because they feared persecution. And when I was there in early 90s, they were still struggling to get the citizenship. 1971, and I was the district magistrate there in 1994. So 23 years, and they were still struggling. And they had every reason. There was no earthly reason why you wouldn't honor them with the citizenship, because they had actually helped the Indian army in fearing persecution, because they had helped the Indian army thinking that the area had been occupied by India. So they had every reason to expect this citizenship being given. But 23 years, then another, I think it took them another 7 or 10 years. It was only around the turn of the millennium that they got the citizenship. What this act does is that it reduces the time frame. That's all.
So this is like, if I just look back, the Shambhala Accord was a disaster for India, because India had 93,000 prisoners of war, and they could have easily settled the Pak occupied Kashmir issue at that time. Or, as Tariq Fatah suggests, they could have demilitarized Pakistan if they wanted to. None of that happened. What is it that made Mrs. Indira Gandhi so generous that she basically gave, and also what you just mentioned about the 4,000 square kilometer area that was inside what is today Pakistan?
Actually, that will remain an abiding mystery, because Mrs. Indira Gandhi was quite a ruthless and quite a practical person. as far as my understanding of Mrs. Gandhi goes. How she got charmed by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto into conceding this very, very unreasonable and I would even say one-sided fact, I really fail to fathom this. I think some classified papers at some later date might reveal as to what happened. But definitely, India could have used that leverage of 93,000 prisoners of war because that was causing them great distress. And why it was causing them great distress, I think, if Mrs. Gandhi had a greater understanding of the what is called the Islamic history, then she might have positioned herself better. Because in Islamic history, having slaves is fine, but Momin or 93,000 Mominin becoming slaves of another country is an existential crisis for that country. And they could not use that existential crisis, I think, because they did not have anybody who understood Islamic history. Otherwise, it was very easy not only to take back some of our area in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but also, as Tariq Fateh says, yes, demilitarization, at least temporarily, was definitely an option. It should have been seriously considered, and there was no hurry to give them the POWs back. It's not as if we would not have been able to feed 93,000 people.
You know, Sanjay, one of the things that I still remember growing up was you had to pay 5 paisa extra for Bangladesh Relief Fund. From 71 up until, I don't know, God knows how many years we did that. And all this money went towards rehabilitating these refugees. And now I see that, you know, the same ones are biting the hand of the people who are already there. I may be wrong, but my understanding is that there is some outrage among one minority. And for what? What exactly is being changed now? I do remember that in the NRC, March 25, 1971 is the cutoff date. So maybe this is a preamble. They are hoping to stop it here, stall it here, so that when the NRC comes countrywide, that they want to, you know, somehow stop that from being passed. What are your thoughts on that? I'd like to conclude with that answer.
Again, I think you have to trace it back to the history. You refer to that piece that I've written in Medium. And I've done a detailed analysis of how the Islamic thought works.
Right.
And the partition of Pakistan is a very interesting phenomenon. The partition of Pakistan happened on the basis of the vote that Muslim League received in the minority Muslim provinces.
Right.
Mark my words.
And none of them went. That's the other part.
The vote, the most important places where they had the maximum proportion of the votes in the Muslim electorates were number 1, Madras.
Yes, yes.
They won nearly 100% seats in Madras and nearly 100% seats in Bombay. Okay. Then they won a very high number of seats in central provinces and in United Provinces. After that, in Bihar. In all the provinces where Muslims were minority, they absolutely swept the communal electorate, the Muslim seats. But what was the case in the provinces where they were in majority? They did not win a majority in Punjab.
Right. Not in Sindh.
They did not win a majority in Sindh. In Bengal, they barely won a majority, and that also because they managed to patch up with Jyotirnath Mandal, and they created what we these days we call this trope of Bhim meme or the Muslim Dalit combination.
Right.
That was the kind of combination that was struck up by Muslim League with Jyotindranath Mandal. And what happened to Jyotindranath Mandal, I think we know.
Yes.
Exactly what happened.
He died a very bitter man. He died a very bitter man.
He had to come to India.
Yes, for treatment.
As a refugee, died as a refugee. He could not even become Indian citizen. Whereas if he had not patched up with them, maybe Bengal would have had a different kind of an outlook.
Yes.
So this whole thing, the partition, the way it was done, the idea of Pakistan was germinated and nurtured in the provinces where Muslims were in minority. And most of these people, almost 70 to 80% of these people, did not go to Pakistan. They stayed back. And they stayed back and, okay, for the first 20, 30 years, they were very quiet about it. But then the way the politics took shape and the vote bank politics started, the same idea which partitioned India is still going strong.
Yes. And, viewers, what Sanjay ji meant by Madras is the combined state of most of Kerala without the Travancore kingdom, Karnataka, today's Tamil Nadu, and most of the Andhra.
Without Mysore. Karnataka without Mysore.
Karnataka without Mysore, and Andhra Pradesh, combined Andhra Pradesh without probably Telangana, because that was under Nizam. So, but from this, very few actually migrated to Pakistan. So this was a very lopsided way to ask for their opinion, in my opinion. But I guess there are so many things happening that they just wanted some sort of end with horror rather than horror without end. But anyway, be that as it may, we are stuck with that history, and you have to see how this thing can be navigated moving forward. Sanjay, I will make sure that link to the Medium post will be part of this video. And I thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to our viewers. And viewers, please do subscribe to PGurus channel. Your support helps us to grow. Thank you very much, Sanjay.
Thank you, Sri.